Hello again, Greg McNeil here. Today we're going to be talking about the Holga. This is quite possibly one of my favorite cameras of all time. It was the first medium format camera I ever owned, and it really helped me on my photographic journey. What do I love about this camera? I love how its simplicity of operation belies the complexity within. I love how the single element plastic meniscus lens gives this pleasing vignette and this grindy lo-fi quality to all the images it produces. So here we are, we have my collection of Holgas here. These are the standard ones. These are two of my first ones. This one here is called my Franken Holga. I took the front off a Brownie bullet, sliced it off, and added it to this Holga. It makes really interesting images like this one. When you put it to take 16 images, they all line up almost perfectly to create an image much like this one. I also have this variant here. This is the Polaroid back, and this is for pack film. So you can open that up and slide the Polaroid film in there. And then you take out the slide and you can use it. What's interesting about this is because of the extra depth that you need for the Polaroid, they had to add this little lens element to the front here so that it can focus. But this is fun. Pack film, of course, has become very expensive, so that's not really a good option anymore. And this is the pinholga. This is one of my very first Holgas, and the pinhole has been removed, but this one was a .0059 inch pinhole, and I have the metering right here. And this is one of the few times I actually kept the lens cap for the Holga and just attached it like this so that I would have a shutter. This is the newest Holga I own. This is a little blue Holga. It does bulb, and it has a tripod mount in it. And so you can add this device here. And so when you're in bulb mode, you can control the shutter with a plunger. This is when they started getting really fancy with the Holgas and painting them and adding all different kinds of options to them. You can get glass lens Holgas and all kinds of fun stuff. There are a couple things about the Holga that you need to know, first off. One of the things is that it leaks light like a sieve, and there are several places that once you get your Holga, you want to start taping it. I tape it along this edge, right here, and up across the top. The other place I tape it is right in here, these two spots here. This avoids unwanted flares that can really mess up your images. One of the other things that comes with the Holga are aspect ratio masks. This one is for 2 1/4, so it creates this rectangular picture. And this one is 6 by 6, and that'll create the square photo. Now, when you have the 6 by 6 mask in, you get 12 exposures per roll. When you have the 2 1/4 mask in, you get 16 exposures per roll. Now, I usually just take the masks away completely, and then I just cover this ridge with shiny cellophane tape so that the film just rolls across that and doesn't get scratched as easily. And it gives me the ability to expose all the way to the edge of the film. In some of the images you can see the type of film I used. It goes all the way outside the rebate. You'll also want to check out this switch on the back of the camera and make sure it's set to the proper number of exposures, depending on the aspect ratio mask you're using. Here it's set to 12 exposures. One of the first things you want to do when you get your Holga, take the lens cap off and throw it away. It's not worth anything unless you're making a pinhole camera. You have your focus scale. Your focus scale is landscape, family reunion, family, and close-up. And this close-up is around 3 feet. I think this is around 10 feet-ish, maybe 20, and then infinity. Now you have these two settings here, and supposedly these are for f-stops, 11 and 8. I only set it to this, to 8. Don't worry about trying to set it for this and this. It's not going to make a difference. So just keep it set to the lightning bolt, partly cloudy setting right here, and you should be set. So what we're going to do is we're going to put those clips down. I'm going to take off the back and open up our film. The only film I have on hand right now is this Pro 400H from Fuji. So we remove this piece of rubbish and just feed that film in there. I'm going to take a piece of cardboard from a film box, stuff it in there just to keep some tension. And then I'm going to thread the paper through here and then onto the spool. And then we're going to take another piece of cardboard, pop it in there. This will just keep everything in a little bit of tension. And we load the back. And then we start taping. Couple more pieces along the side. Okay, now we're all taped up. Then we have the window here. Bring this right up close here so you can see it. And then we just start advancing. And the wheel turns a bit tight, and I like that because that's keeping everything in tension. And we just pay attention to the red window. Okay, there's a couple of dashy lines. And this will be different with every film, this leader. But we know we're getting close. We have 3 dashes. We should have an arrow. There we go. And then some descending dots. And there's our first exposure, all ready to go. Cover that flap. This flap will keep light from coming in there and ruining your shot. Because sometimes in direct sunlight, the sunlight can get through the paper and cause, you can see numbers and stuff on your images. Not cool. We make sure we're on the cloudy setting right there. When you're setting your light meter, just set it for 125th of a second and then try to get around f8. And we're ready to take this shot. Let's take a look at some silver gelatin prints I've made over the years with the Holga. This image was taken on Beaver Island in Michigan. And one of the things about these printed images that you'll notice, you'll see these weird edges along the side, these almost grindy edges. This is because I'm using a hand-cut cardboard negative carrier. I really love the vignette because I can allow the sky to blow out a little bit because I know it'll be either hemmed in with the frame of the image or the hand-cut negative carrier. So I can be really free to get my detail where I want it, and I can let that sky go if I want. This is one of my very classic center-weighted compositions, using the shapes within the frame to create its own frame within a frame within a frame. It's one of the things I really like to do with my images. You have all of these lines that create all of these different segments of the image, with the center and the point of interest being right here. This particular print right here is from the pinhole Holga. I can tell that because of this edge right up here. That's from the edge of the pinhole. Here's something that was happening to this Holga for a while. This was a newer Holga when I started shooting with it, and the shutter spring was very tight. And so you can see up here, we've got a little bit of a double image here. That's because as the shutter was closing, it would smack back so that you got a little bit of a double image just on the corner there, and it wasn't opening all the way. And eventually, after everything sorted itself out, because as normally happens with the Holgas, the spring becomes looser and looser and less springy. And so eventually, as a Holga ages, you'll gain as much as a stop in exposure because the shutter speed will slow down. This is another really great example of not only the shutter problem of that one particular Holga. So you have the shutter not opening all the way here, but you have the double image up here and the vignette, as well as the focus fall off on the detail, and it really just sends you right into the center of this image, to this little cabin right in the center. I also like the use of the foreground here. You have the foreground that is very dark in the frame, and it almost balances out this shutter problem on the other side, makes it seem like it was intentional. This picture was taken at a protest at the U.S. Capitol. This was shot with a 320 TXP, the Tri-X. And I had a red filter on the camera to bring down this sky. In this image, I was holding a polarizing filter in front of the lens. And the filter got off center, and the light coming in from the top through the roof of the building reflected off of the edge of the filter, creating this interesting shape, which inadvertently created this really nice flow of shapes this way. I really like when accidents happen in the camera to make things more interesting. One of the things I was doing for a while was attaching a ring flash to the front of the Holga so that I could shoot in darker environments. And this lent a really interesting, almost crime scene quality to some of these images. This was an old abandoned car in the woods, and I love how you've got the shapes of the car. This shape repeats itself, and this shape repeats itself, but the detail kind of falls off in the background. You've just got a little hint of the sun here, but it really just focuses all your attention right in the center of the frame. This is a great example of what color film looks like through the Holga. This is actually the Franken Holga, the brownie bullet that I bodged onto the body of a Holga. I can tell because of the smaller square image in the center, and these three edges of that image are soft, and the bottom line of the frame is very crisp. I really love how even these simple lenses can really give you a very sharp, beautiful image. Look at the focus fall off on the edges. This is a really fantastic image. I really enjoy this one a lot. And it's an example of how not center weighting a square image can really have an advantage. Look at how this plume of smoke up here is just rising in a third of the frame here. And you've got a little bit of smoke on this side of the frame. So it's very weighted to the right. I really like it. I love the way this line kind of cuts through the bottom third. This is a really nice image. Here we have a really peaceful composition. It's just off-center weighted a little bit, flowing with these shapes, bringing everything towards this shape right here. This was shot on 3200 with a deep red filter. I was able to capture the detail of the sky as well as all the detail in the sand here and the little the desert plants into this one lonely church. You can see in the background, look at that, the mountains. The detail in this is really fantastic. This is a very classic Holga image for me. I love how the vignette pulls in these two corners of the frame, and these shapes swoop in from these angles. It really has a nice flow to it. I really, really love the way this image turned out. If I were to have a favorite Holga image that I've ever taken, it would probably be this one. This is Edinburgh Castle, very early in the morning. This is cross-processed Fuji slide film. And the grain structure and the tonality and the shapes in this are really fantastic. And I purposely framed the castle within the foliage up here so that it created these layers. So you have this layer at the top of the foliage, and then you have this bright white sky. And then you have the castle and the volcano. And then you have this strip down here where the pedestrians walk. You've got great vignette and fall off, the smeary focus fall off on the edges. This shot really captures everything I love about the Holga camera. Hey, thanks for joining me here today. I just really love this camera, and if you get a chance, I highly recommend finding one and rolling some film through it. Just a couple of things to leave you with. Holga Week is the first week of September, and don't forget World Toy Camera Day is October 20th. I also want to give a special thanks to my patrons, without whom none of this would be possible. We'll see you again soon.